Good morning, student. Hope you will be fine at your respective places. Today, we were discussing this respiration and photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, we will see for every what we call as this life processes. We will see that each हम कहेंगे physiological process जो है that is influenced by a number of factors. So what we will see, अब जो factor है every factor which influences, now every factor that influences the physiological process, that affects the physiological process, has three principal values. These are called as cardinal points. These are cardinal points. Now, what do we mean by the cardinal point? What are these cardinal points? We have got three cardinal points. 1, 2, and 3. What are these three cardinal points? First one is minimum. Second one is optimum. Fourth one is maximum. Every factor that influences a physiological process that has got three values, that has got three physical values, and these three physical values are called as cardinal points. First one, that is minimum. Second one is that is optimum. Third one, that is maximum. What do we mean by the minimum? Minimum, हम कहेंगे minimum of a factor that represents the value, below which the process does not take place. So what do you mean by the minimum cardinal point? Minimum of a factor, हम कहेंगे it represents the value below which the process does not take place. अगर हम optimum की बात करेंगे, it is the factor, optimum of the factor is the point, is the value where the process is taking place at its maximum. अब मिनिमम वैल्यू वो होता है कि किसी फैक्टर का कि उसका वैल्यू उतना कम होगा कि इसके नीचे हम देखेंगे कि जो फिजिकल प्रोसेस वो it does not take place, while as the optimum value वो होता है जहां पर हम देखते हैं कि जो एक फिजिकल प्रोसेस होती है it takes place at its maximum. And maximum में हम क्या देखते हैं? It is the value beyond which the process does not take place, or we can say, or it stops. So every factor की अगर हम बात करेंगे, it influences the physiological process, and every factor that influencing a physiological process, it has got three principal values which are called as cardinal points. What are these physical principal values? एक है minimum value, second है optimum, third है maximum. Minimum वो value होता है below which the process does not take place. Optimum वो value है where the process is taking place at its maximum, and maximum value वो होता है कि beyond which the process does not take place or it stops. Now, हमारे पास एक और बात है, that is called as limiting factor. लिमिटिंग फैक्टर, हमारे पास एक कानून है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ब्लैकमैन्स लॉ ऑफ लिमिटिंग फैक्टर। हमारे पास एक लिमिटिंग फैक्टर है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ब्लैकमैन्स लॉ ऑफ लिमिटिंग फैक्टर। अब ब्लैकमैन, उसका पूरा नाम था J.F. ब्लैकमैन। इन द ईयर 1905 ब्लैकमैन ने क्या दिया, ही प्रपोज्ड द लॉ ऑफ लिमिटिंग फैक्टर। उसने क्या दिया, लॉ ऑफ लिमिटिंग फैक्टर, अकॉर्डिंग टू विच, उससे क्या, अकॉर्डिंग टू विच, व्हाट डज दैट लॉ स्टेट्स दैट when process is, that is the physiological process, when process is confined या conditioned is, when the process is conditioned to its rapidity, when process is, that is the physiological process, is conditioned to its rapidity by a number of factors, the rate of process is limited by the pace of the slowest factor. For example, we will say any physiological process, that is the photosynthesis, we have got the respiration, the photosynthesis process. It is, in order to perform the process of photosynthesis, many environmental factors, many internal and external factors that affect this rate of photosynthesis. When any physiological process that is conditioned to its rapidity, to its maximum by a number of factors, अब जो rate of process जो है, it is limited by the pace of the slowest factor, वो वाला फैक्टर जिसका असर हम क्या देखते हैं कि जो स्लोवेस्ट होगा। एंड दिस ब्लैकमैन्स लॉ ऑफ लिमिटिंग फैक्टर की अगर हम बात कर लेंगे, इट इज सिंपली द मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ Lebesgue's law of minimum. It is simply the modification of Lebesgue's law of minimum. Now, what does this Lebesgue's law of minimum states? It states the rate of process is the rate of process controlled by several factors is only as rapid as the slowest factor permits. When the slowest factor, जिसका असर हम देखते हैं कि बहुत कम होगा, when that allows, what we will see, the rate of process will be high. Now, हमारे पास एक थ्योरी और भी है, that theory is called as, we have got the theory that is called as theory of three cardinal points, and it was given by Sachs. It was given by Sachs in the year 1860. And according to this concept, कि हर एक फैक्टर के लिए वी हैव गॉट 3 cardinal points. First one is minimum, second one is optimum, and third one is maximum. मिनिमम कब देखिए इसके नीचे जो रेट ऑफ फोटो जो फिजियोलॉजिकल इट डज नॉट टेक प्लेस. ऑप्टिमम वो वाला फैक्टर एट विच द फिजियोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस टेक्स प्लेस एट इट्स मैक्सिमम, एंड मैक्सिमम होता है बियॉन्ड विच द rate of physiological process that abruptly stops. अब हम देखते हैं कि फॉर एवरी फैक्टर, अगर हम देखेंगे फॉर एवरी फैक्टर, हम एक फिजियोलॉजिकल फैक्टर लेंगे, प्रोसेस लेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल वी आर टेकिंग प्लेस फोटोसिंथेसिस, हम देंगे या रेस्पिरेशन देखेंगे. What we will see, for every factor there is a minimum factor where the no photosynthesis does not take place. फिर हमारे पास क्या है, एक ऐसा फैक्टर भी है, एक ऐसा वैल्यू भी है where we will see the rate of photosynthesis will be at its highest. Rate of photosynthesis will be highest. And third, there is also the value of factor where we will see beyond which rate of photosynthesis does not take place. Does not takes place. So this is the second. First one is the theory of Blackman's law of limiting factor. उसमें हमने क्या देखा कि वो कहते हैं कि when the process is conditioned by a number of factors, when the process conditioned to its rapidity by a number of factors, the rate of process जो है is limited. उसको लिमिट कौन करता है? By the pace of the slowest factor. That Blackman's जो law of limiting factor है, it is simply the modification of the Lebesgue's law of minimum. Then we have got the theory of the 3 cardinal points which was given by the Sachs in the year 1860. अगर हमने एक process ली, that is the photosynthesis, we have got 3 cardinal points, minimum, optimum and maximum. Minimum में क्या देखते हैं, एक ऐसा value भी आता है factor का where we will see no physiological process takes place. Optimum में हम क्या देखते हैं कि एक ऐसा value भी आता है factor का where rate of जो physiological process होगी that will be highest. एंड मैक्सिमम में क्या देखते हैं कि एक वैल्यू ऐसा भी आता है बियॉन्ड विच रेट ऑफ जो प्रोसेस होगी दैट स्टॉप्स. In the next video we will proceed further. Until then, goodbye. God bless you. Thanks.